Hello everybody. As you've just heard, my name is Tim Corcoran. I'm the CEO of Deep Blue Biotech. We make carbon neutral chemicals which are better and cheaper than the ones that they replace. Globally, the chemicals industry contributes about 8% of CO2 emissions, which is quite a lot. But green chemicals have largely failed to cut through. This is partly because they are generally more expensive and not as good as the chemicals they're trying to replace. Companies, consumers, they don't want that. Fortunately, at Deep Blue Biotech, we have a solution. That solution is cyanobacteria. Now, slight formatting issue there. For those of you that aren't familiar with cyanobacteria, let me quickly explain. It is the most efficient photosynthetic organism on the planet. It's the reason we developed a breathable atmosphere in the first place. It needs just water, light, and CO2 to grow and to thrive. And it can be genetically engineered to make useful products. These three things taken together mean that this is the cleanest technology available to us for the manufacture of chemicals. Our technology is based upon a deep understanding of the genetics of cyanobacteria, strain engineering, and a low capex, scalable manufacturing process. The very first piece of research we did was to look at which chemicals our cyanobacteria is predisposed to make. You can see here on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a list of a few of them. It's quite a long list. So in trying to determine which chemicals we should start with first, we did a bit of market research. We wanted to look for something with a high price and a big market. That led us to polysaccharides. Specifically, it led us to hyaluronic acid, which some of you may have heard of. It's very popular in the personal care industry, especially the skincare sector. Critically, from our point of view, the market is big, it's growing fast, and the price point is typically north of $2,000 per kilogram. By contrast, we can make it for approximately $1,000 per kilogram, and we will be selling it for $1,750 per kilogram. This makes us simultaneously cheaper and greener than the competition. We estimate that for every ton of our hyaluronic acid used, 7 tons of CO2 will be captured or mitigated. Not only that, because our cyanobacteria is an ocean-based strain, it means our clients can make some unique blue beauty claims about their products containing our ingredients. That enables them to charge more, and it enables them to sell more. Our route to market involves developing strong relationships with the personal care companies. They, in turn, put pressure on the chemicals companies to work with us. Now, when we told them that we could save them money, make them money, and reduce their carbon footprint, they were quite keen. We've had a lot of very positive conversations. In fact, so far we've secured 3 LOIs with Unilever, Croda, and Aethic. We have a number of others on the way. We've won 2 Innovate UK grants so far. We completed our pre-seed funding round in October of last year. In the lab, we've just completed a really detailed techno-economic analysis of the process, and we currently have 4 genetically modified strains of cyanobacteria making hyaluronic acid. We have another 8 currently in the pipeline. We're working in the lab at the moment on optimizing those modifications, trying different combinations to get the best possible yield. We're also working on scaling up the technology and on the downstream processing, which is an important factor in the economics. We're aiming to achieve full industrial production by 2028, net profitability the same year, and our first sales in 2026. This is our team. Between us, we combine an in-depth understanding of the genetics of cyanobacteria, personal care industry, innovation and procurement, and experience working with and within early-stage companies, scaling them from startup through to successful exit. We're Deep Blue Biotech. We'll be opening our seed round in Q3 of this year. If you'd like to find out more, please come and find me afterwards, or you can email me on that address on the screen. Thank you very much.
Well done, Tim. Okay, over to audience questions now. And while we wait for those questions to come in, let me kick one off. We have your team member joining us on stage to answer those questions too. Welcome. So let's start with something you talked about in your pitch. You mentioned you're starting with hyaluronic acid. Looking ahead, what will your next product be?
It's a good question. We've had a lot of inquiries when we speak to personal care companies and we speak to the chemicals companies. We've had a lot of requests, can you do X, Y, and Z? I think there are a number of viable candidates. It will depend a little bit upon the economics. Again, you want to be competitive as early as you can. The intention is to work down that pyramid, so we get down towards the more commodity chemicals as the technology gets refined and improves.
Okay. The first question from the audience, is this solution 100% carbon neutral? And if not, what are the barriers?
It's potentially carbon negative, never mind carbon neutral. Where the energy comes from matters. We're looking at, amongst other things, creating a plant whereby we have solar and wind power to power the systems that we do have. But it's much more energy efficient than any other resources at the moment. So we do need to make sure that the energy is clean, but as long as that's the case, it's carbon negative.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The next question from our audience, why not go straight to the consumer market as a blue beauty brand?
I'll let Manu take that one.
Building a brand is quite expensive. I think that the main reason of us working as a B2B player is because we can address several, in order to build that scale, that we need to create the critical mass to gain those economies of scale. We will put the focus in make our process more efficient, our cost even more effective than it is today. Creating a brand has other parameters that are much more complex, much reliant on investment, and is not a typical VC-backed model. So we are better off in this process.
Okay. Moving on to the next question from the audience this afternoon. Other than the personal care sector, which others are you looking to enter?
I mean, there's a hell of a lot we can do with the personal care sector alone, but if you take just the hyaluronic acid, that can go into food, it can go into it can go into pharmaceuticals. The regulatory barriers are much higher. So we start with personal care where the regulatory barriers are much easier, and then we can look at branching out.
Okay. Moving on to the next question, and what footprints do you need to grow the bacteria and product or factories?
Yeah, you need a large photobioreactor. That's the critical thing. So because hyaluronic acid is very expensive, you don't have to make millions of tons. You're looking at hundreds, thousands of tons in the first instance. Now, we're looking at a yield of about 1 gram per litre. So if you can get a 1 million litre photobioreactor, we've seen some out in Portugal. We went out to visit in November and December last year. You're looking at about field size photobioreactor will make you a ton of hyaluronic acid every week. 1 ton is about £2 million, so it scales up quite quickly.
Okay, moving on, we have time for at least one more. Tell us about your IP strategy.
Yeah, so we're going to be filing our first patents later this year. We have got patentable IP now, but we're worried if we go too soon, we tip our hand. So we want to wait till we've optimized the yield and some of the processes as well.
Okay, I think we do have time for one more. How easy is it to extract product chemicals from biomass? Is it a batch or continuous process?
It's quite easy because the process has been designed to secrete it into the media. So we just extract that media and then purify it from there. So that's quite straightforward. And we could do it both ways. It could be a batch or a continuous process. We have designed that as a batch because that reduces the amount of contamination and potential problems later. So once they have reached the growth stage and it's secreting at the rate we want, we extract the media and then we start again. So that is how we do it, but we have designed the process not to have to process the biomass itself. We're actually looking at how to valorize that biomass, which is another stream that we haven't discussed in detail.
Fantastic. That brings us to time. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.